Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning at Earth and Sky. And we have a couple nice things today. So I hope you all enjoyed the beautiful pink moon that had just happened last Sunday. I think it was last Sunday. And then this May 1st, I could have tied them in together in the last segment, but I really wanted to talk a lot about the full moon. So instead I saved to mention about Beltane this week. So we're actually going to turn the wheel. We had Ostara was the last holiday that we did. Last year we talked a lot in depth about the different holidays. So we're just going to turn the wheel this time because we're celebrating Beltane, which is a beautiful, beautiful holiday, as most of you are probably experiencing. Now we can get outside and be out in the garden and enjoy the sun for those who enjoy the sun, which is most of you. Beltane is a wonderful time of year for that. So it's a Celtic holiday, and traditionally this would actually be the start of summer. So geologically, June 21st is really the start of summer. But in this tradition, May 1st is the start of summer because it's right between where you have the winter solstice here, the summer solstice here, which will actually be in June, and then we had the spring equinox right here, which was Ostara, and then you come directly across the wheel to the autumnal equinox. And so as you look in that little segment, so you're halfway between spring and fall, and then you have summer and winter here, but this is kind of right in between those. So it depends on how you prefer to celebrate it. You can celebrate this as the start of summer if you like, since you're going outside, or you can just celebrate it as that birthing of spring and all of the essence of the flowers are finally coming up. It's not just those little shoots in the ground, they're starting to actually bloom. So depending on what your preference is and what resonates with you, celebrate this holiday whichever way you like. And then we'll come into summer as we go into June. But if you want more information about Beltane, you can look in our archives because last year we went really in depth with it. So I'd definitely recommend you go back and look at that video if you're interested. And today we're going to talk about pets in the afterlife. This was something that was a suggested video from one of the people that comes here to watch with us every week. And before I get into that, just another reminder too, if you haven't already, please like our Facebook page and subscribe to us on YouTube. If you are interested in this video and if you think it might have value to people that you know, we'd really appreciate you sharing it out as well. And this is definitely a topic that I get questions about periodically. What happens to pets in the afterlife? Some religions don't acknowledge pets a whole lot in the afterlife, and I think that's really a huge disservice and doesn't even respect the integrity and the soul of the animal, which are truly our partners in this world. We seem to have quite a big ego when we think that we're the only ones that will continue on or go to heaven or whatever your vision is of after this life, because animals are just as worthy of that and continue the life cycles just as we do. I personally believe quite a bit in reincarnation. I've had a lot of experiences and talks with spirit about that, and I believe our pets definitely go through that as well. And a lot of pets will hang around with us quite a bit as well, even after they've gone. A lot of times our pets truly are partners with us in life. They're the ones that are there if you have something emotionally going on and you need an ear to listen to you, or you need somebody there that you can just pet and hold on to, and they have that pure essence of love and that light within them that just seems to know exactly whatever's going on with us. They seem to be right there with us. When I do Reiki with pets, I see them more as partners in healing. So when I'm doing Reiki on people, it's more that I allow that healing energy to flow through. They lie there and we do all the treatment. With pets, it's different because pets are so sensitive to energy and they see a lot of energy that's going on. That's why if you have cats, a lot of times you'll notice that when you're in a room, suddenly they're staring off at something you can't quite see, but they're very intrigued with it. That's because they're seeing the energy. They see the essence of things with life. And that's why with Reiki, they're wonderful partners with Reiki. And so it's more of a dance when you do Reiki on an animal, because you allow them to guide and lead the session. They're experts at that. They're also experts at dying in their own way. They have a really natural sense. A lot of times people seem to have a lot of fear with dying, and we have all of these uncertainties, and a lot of that might be religion in a way, because religion plants this fear of what might happen to you if you don't follow up with whatever specific religions are telling you to do. Pets don't have that. Pets are just naturally able to see energy. They're able to feel life. They feel whatever you're going through. They feel that love, and they know how to be there for you. And they carry that same essence through with their own lives. So as they start to get sick, then they take that in and they deal with it in certain ways, and they'll kind of go through that experience. And then as it gets closer to the time that they die, they don't struggle and fight against it like we as people do. And at the point of transition, it's quite an amazing experience. When I had first started thinking about how I was going to do this video, I thought I would really meditate a lot on it and see what answers I could see, what new type of knowledge I could glean. And then I realized really I needed to just speak from the heart from this one and talk about experiences that I've had personally with pets as they were transitioning, and the spirit pets as they come back and visit, and some different experiences that I've seen as I've gone along this journey. And so I've had several different pets personally, and also a lot of stray animals that I've had to be with during that transition time. I think it really helps them, just kind of starting at the beginning with them, it really helps them if you're able to be there with them during that time of transition, because just as they've been partners with you through all of their life, and they've been with you through your ups and downs, they like to have you there as well as a comfort to them while they're doing that space of transition, whether it's at home or whether it's at a vet. A lot of times people will really struggle with the decision of when is the right time to take them into the vet if you see your pet is suffering and they don't have the life within them that they used to have, and when do you choose? And it feels like that is a heavy weight on a lot of us. But truly, sometimes that's the most compassionate and kindest act that you can do for your pet, because it's a way of honoring all of the joys and all of the life that they have brought to you, and allowing them to not continue to suffer if you know that they are not going to continue to have that vitality in the life that they've had. So if you're making that decision and you're giving that kind, compassionate act to them to help so they aren't suffering, so that they can transition, when you're in that space with them, if you're at the vet's office, take a moment to really try to calm yourself. I know you'll be in a lot of grief at that point, and so sometimes it's hard to find that calmness within us. But think of your pets first, and the fact that they need you to have that peace, and they need to feel that love from you. And there's certain meditations that you can do during that process where you see, maybe you imagine a white rose that kind of drops down into your head from the divine, and then it falls into your heart. And as you think about all of the loving memories that you have with your pet and all of the things you're grateful for to them, see the petals of that rose opening within your heart, one petal at a time, with each memory that floods in, with each thought of love, with each thought of light. See that rose opening up. It helps to have something to focus on during a time like that. And then see yourself as emitting that white rose into your pet's heart. So this is how you open that heart-to-heart communication with your pet, and they're able to sense and feel what you're feeling, but it also helps to open that link to you so you can understand and hear them better. So you see that white rose that's unfolded completely, and you send that into their heart, and then you have that connection going, and they're going to feel your peace. They're going to feel that you're letting them know it's okay to go on, and that you know you'll see them again. If you haven't already heard of the Rainbow Bridge poem, that brings me a lot of comfort as well. That's one of the places that I see a lot of pets go to, is it's like an etheric rainbow bridge in a way, and it's a place where all of the pets are able to go, and if they choose to stay there, they can choose to stay there and wait for you. Sometimes pets come back here and come back and play with us in spirit as well. But it's a place where all of the sickness that they've had leaves them. As soon as they transition, all of that sickness, all of that pain goes away. It's like in an instant. A lot of times with people, when we transition, we have so many lessons that we process and all these different things and these different levels that we go through when we transition to the afterlife. Pets have such an innocent nature about them that they don't tend to need to go through all of those lessons. They just pass through and they feel that freedom and they feel that light, and they're able to come back and be with us. I remember the first pet that I had, Shadow Dancer, when she made her transition, it was absolutely earth-shattering to me. But when I saw her, when I was in the vet's office, I was fortunate enough to be able to see her spirit lift from her body. A lot of you know I do readings and I see spirits and all of that, so that does help. But even if you don't do that already, if you get into that meditative state, you'll be able to feel that connection with your pet as they leave. And so when I saw Shadow Dancer, I knew the moment she was leaving, because I saw her spirit lift up out of her body, and I was able to hear her speak to me, which was deeply personal. And I have a journal of what all of the pets have said as they've transitioned, which really helps a lot with the grieving, but it just helps to know that that happens with your pet too, whether you hear them or not. They feel the gratitude. And one of the things that has been consistent with many of the pets that have passed over that I've been with, or the stray animals that I've passed over, or have passed over while I've been with them, is they have words of gratitude a lot of times, or words of love that seem to come through, which is similar in a lot of ways with people, but it's such a pure essence, that moment that they transcend. And then one of the funnier ones was when my cat Tiffany had passed. Now, she was a cat that was with me through everything. When I was deeply sick, she was the one that I was basically bedridden for about 8 years. And she was the one that laid right by my side during all of it. And so JJ would pick me up to carry me into the other room, and she would suddenly run down and eat and drink and use the litter, and she would hop up just about the time that I was sitting down wherever I was in the next room. And so we had such a strong bond. So she lived to be 23. She was a beautiful long-haired calico. And when she crossed, again, it was devastating. I think we all are devastated when we lose our pets. It never necessarily gets easier because we have this bond with them. But when she crossed over, she actually made me laugh, because I had calmed myself into that space of just trying to feel love, sending her joy, and staying as peaceful as I could for those moments. I knew that I could grieve again after she was gone. And as she rose up, I was still looking at her body, and all of a sudden I heard this voice over here by where the x-ray thing was in the office, the x-ray board. And I suddenly looked up, and she's like, "Mom, why are you looking over there? I'm over here." And I was like, "Oh, hi, okay." She's like, "I'm good, I'm free, I don't hurt anymore." And she looked like she did when she was young again. She didn't look like a 23-year-old cat. And so it was such a great way to feel that joy, like, oh. And she just didn't even understand why I was looking down at this body. She didn't have an attachment to it anymore. It didn't make sense to her. And then my cat Wee Wee, who is a Himalayan, she was really funny as well. So when she had passed, she actually had passed at home, and we were taking her, she started to pass at home, so we were driving to the vet with her, and then I felt her start to circle around my legs in the car, and she jumped up and started to purr as she crawled up along my chest, and it was just knowing that she was okay. She was at peace at that moment. And then one of the interesting ones, fast forwarding through a few, one of the interesting ones happened, I think it was last summer, with a cat that was a stray cat in our area. We had had two cats that seemed like they were brothers. They didn't necessarily hang out together. I'm not sure where they came from. They both had eye issues. They both looked like twins. And the first one, when he had started coming around, he was very shy of people. He was grateful for the food we left out. We did what we could to take care of him, but he would never get too close to us. And then it was time to get them fixed, which I do if they're around for more than a couple weeks. And I had given him a little longer because of the eye issue. I was hoping that would clear up. And so I set the trap up. And then all of a sudden he climbed up and walked into it while I was standing there and let me pet him. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so I guess we're ready to go. And then in the morning when I went to the vet appointment, I saw him outside, but it was his doppelganger, who was very afraid and scared and didn't want to have anything to do with me. So that was how we learned there were two of the exact same looking cats in our area. And we took care of them for a few years outside. And then one of them just hadn't come around for quite a long time, so I didn't know if something happened to him. One of the things you have to get used to when you care for the community cats is that they live on their own terms. It's not our will, it's not that we should put our will on them. They are, in a way, still wild animals. They don't want to be domesticated necessarily, and it's unfair to bring them into a home if they prefer to be outside. And so you do the best you can to take care of them, getting them fixed, giving them food, water, shelter if you're willing to do those things. Getting them fixed is first and foremost. And then as things happen, you get sad, but you also have to really pay attention to the fact of the life that they were able to live. And they were able to live on their own terms. And they were able to chase the birds and play with the leaves and hide in the grass and, be cats and have a good life with the life that they chose, which was not being domesticated. And so you definitely have to get used to the fact of when things happen, how you can deal with that, though. And I think that that helps with life in general, when you can get okay with how to deal with it when the animal's passed, knowing that you're still okay, knowing that you can be grateful for everything that you had with this animal in your life, whether it's a community cat or an animal that you have in your home that you love. And so it came time where the brother, that was the friendly one, he got really sick and he was quite quickly not looking well. So we put him into a trap again, and I think actually we put him into a carrier that time. I took him down to the vet and found out that he was positive for feline leukemia, which is really a hard thing for the animal to go through. And he was not going to be well, and he just needed to be released, or else he would have been affecting everybody else in the area as well. So it was a responsible thing to do for him and also the rest of the neighborhood cats. And so it was such an interesting one, though, because again, I was sad about it, as we always are, but focusing on those good memories that we had with him and sending him pictures through my heart, sending pictures to his heart about the joy that I knew he experienced in this life, and now letting him know it was going to be okay. And I would love to see him at the Rainbow Bridge if he chooses to hang out and wait for me to cross over, or enjoy his kitty life in the afterlife and greet me there if he wants. And so when he transitioned, it was something I just didn't expect, because I've come to the point now where when they transition, I always hope that I'll be able to see and hear them and know something about them, but I never know what to expect. Every cat is so different. Like I said, Tiffany made me laugh. Sometimes they just make me grateful, or it's messages of love. So when he transitioned, it was the first time that I had actually seen a cat transition into a person. And he transitioned, he was a red-haired cat. He was light red, just like his brother. We had named, we had a cat named Tiger outside, and we named the first doppelganger T1 and the second one T2, because they were that tiger look, but really reddish. And so I saw him transform into this person, and he was a young boy, about this high, like between the knee and the hip, about that high. And he just caught me off guard. I had never seen that before. And I knew that people and pets both transition between one another. We can all come back as pets or people, or I think in my last life I was a well taken care of cat. I think that's why I bring some of those traits forth. But I hadn't seen that actually happen with one that I knew. And so he transitioned, and the color of his hair was very similar to the color of his coat in this life, which I also thought was interesting. But he was just this young boy with this light reddish hair, and he was so happy. And I can just see him running through the field. And as he went running, it was an area where he showed me an area where there was a lake and a lot of grass and this big old tree. and he went running, and at the same time his twin brother was running towards him. And so his twin brother looked very similar to him, same color hair, same size and height and all of that. And I realized that the two cats had been brothers, and the one that we hadn't seen for so long had transitioned already. And so when we brought him back to the house to bury him, we actually were able to find out that the other one had died in a neighbor's house that was nearby, and a friend of ours had brought his bones over so that we could bury them together. And it was just quite incredible, because I started getting a lot of visions, because I wanted to learn more about this, since I hadn't seen, who had actually transitioned into a person before. And they explained that in their last life, which was about 100 years ago, they had a pretty rough life, and they had each other, and they loved each other. They did everything together, but the mother was not a very nice person, and so they would often try to run away and play games out in the woods or by the pond, and they just really had dreamed about coming back as cats together and being able to be free and play in the bushes and run around. And in their vision of being cats, they had no inclination of wanting to be kept by anybody, because their mother was such a cruel person. And their father would travel a lot, so he wasn't there very often, but I got the impression that he wasn't very nice as well. And so they just wanted to be free. They didn't want to have the responsibility and the burden of all of these people in their life that had not been very good to them. So they were out playing in the woods, and one of the boys had fallen into the pond and had drowned. And his twin brother had gone in after him to try and save him, and had also drowned. I believe this happened in England from what I was seeing from them. And they were able to come back in the same group together into this life, and they talked about how they had so much joy in this life, and that they were grateful for what I did as a caretaker for them, and letting them live on their own terms, but also taking care of them. It was the first they had really known kindness in their life for the last couple of lives. I don't know what their lives were like before that, but they showed me that last life, and it was everything they had hoped and dreamed that it would be, even despite the sickness that they incurred from being community cats at points. They just had this overwhelming gratitude, and they got to experience what they had always dreamed about. And that's one of the things we've talked about in the Afterlife video that we did a couple years ago with Earth and Sky, that whatever you focus on as the afterlife is quite likely the first thing you're going to see in the afterlife. That can sometimes, this story showed me that sometimes that will transpose into what your next life is as well, if your version of what you're seeing as the afterlife is about the next life that you want to have. So it's really important to figure out and see a picture of what it is you want in the afterlife. As far as for people, cats just have this amazing, and dogs and birds and horses have the amazing ability of just being able to peacefully transition, and they know what to do, and they see the light, and they're so pure of heart, and their spirit is so pure that to them it's not a sad thing at all. A lot of times when I've talked to animals that were transitioning, when I talk to them for other people, if people are dealing with experiencing a very sick animal, the pets quite often are a lot more concerned about their pet parents than they are about themselves. And so it's really a nice thing when you can release that fear, release that anxiety, and just send all of the peace and love that you can into your pets, and knowing that they can be with you afterwards too. There's such a wide array, just like with people, of what can happen with pets in the afterlife. And a lot of times I've seen pets come back to people too, and certainly when pets have a really strong connection to people, they'll come back at important times in their life. And for quite a while after they die, sometimes their presence is still felt, because they do tend to hang around because they're concerned about their pet parents, and they want to make sure that you're okay after they die, and that you have that peace, and that you feel their love with you. And I'm always grateful for that as well. A lot of times I'll feel them as though I'm still petting the spirit cat, is what I call it, when they come back. I know we had a litter of kittens a few years ago that we lost the whole litter, which was really hard as well. And but for quite a while after that, even when all of our cats would be in the living room with us, we would hear toy balls moving around in the foster room upstairs, and we knew that it was those kittens playing because they were comfortable in that space still, even though they transitioned to the other side. They were still comfortable and felt happy kind of playing in that space. So there's a wide array. Sometimes they're just ready to transition and continue on, and sometimes they want to hang out for a little while longer as well. And you can certainly talk to them even after they pass as well, because they're always happy to talk to you. They're always going to be there for you when you need them. Another thing that's been interesting that I've noticed a lot too that can be hard on people is that quite frequently, if you lose a person that you really love in your life, quite frequently you'll also lose a pet that you love in your life. I've seen this happen so many times. And it's just kind of an unusual link. I don't know exactly why that happens. I know I had heard that a lot, and one of the mediums I really respect, John Edward, said that when he's had family members that he knew were about to transition, before he would go to be with them, he would talk to his pets and say, I want each of you to still be here. Do not leave me. I'm going to go help and deal with my family member, and do not leave me. I tried that a few times and it seemed to work. But when JJ's father died, we had gone out to Arizona. We spent a couple months out there with him during the end time of his life. And the night before his father died, our cat Eddie suddenly became very sick. We had not expected it. He seemed fine. He was 19, but he hadn't showed any health problems until the day before he died. And so that night, Eddie died, which told me that his father was really going to pass quite soon. And in the morning, his father passed. I know I've seen so many people that has happened with. So you can try that, or you talk to them ahead of time and see if that will work. But I think sometimes that's just part of how life is supposed to go. And it's a way for us to learn and to find that strength that we have within ourselves, and to know that love is eternal. Love never dies. Whether it's an animal or a person, love always stays with us. And even when it is physically taken from us, we still have that connection with spirit, and they still have that connection with us. And when you pass, you will be reunited with all of them. A lot of times, I believe we always travel in these soul groups. Sometimes there are people that come in and out of your soul groups, and there's certain ones that kind of stay in a strong pack together through many, many lives. And that's a big part of why when we transition, we're on the other side for quite a while before we come back, because we have large soul groups that are in varying ages, and everybody will transition to the other side and then start to kind of come back. They'll gather, celebrate, enjoy, do things together that are productive on the other side, as well as just being enlightening and learning a lot of lessons on the other side. And so many times when I've been with people when they've transitioned, they'll see the people that matter to them most. They'll start to actually see them within their vision, because that thread to the physical body gets so light that they're able to see them, and they're able to see their pets come to them as well. So I hope that brings a little comfort to you, that you will be able to see them as well. And again, if you haven't already read the Rainbow Bridge poem, I definitely strongly encourage that, because it is a wonderful way to find some peace with your pets as they transition and once they're on the other side. I hope this video helps you with being able to deal with that everything that goes into when your pets die, and how you have to deal with that whole transition period, the responsibility that comes on us as caretakers, as well as the love and being able to have that calm peace for them while they transition, and then dealing with your grief afterwards as well. Maybe you'll be able to feel the comfort of them as their little paws come up and hug you when you're in that state of grief afterwards as well. It's important to also deal with the grief, not just hide it or bury it or ignore it, but to process that as well, and know that love never dies. It is eternal. Your pet's love for you is always eternal. There are so many people I've seen with pets around them too that have crossed over. So I hope that brings you some comfort. If you have any suggestions for videos, please go ahead and message them to us or post them in the comments down below. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Please share this video if you think it will be of help to anyone. And if you liked it, please hit the like button or the love button. Subscribe to us on YouTube and like us on Facebook as well if you would. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.